Okay, let's begin. Let me have your attention, please. Let's begin. It's my privilege to welcome you to the University of Tennessee Nuclear Engineering Department Colloquium Program. My name is Lee Dodds, and it's my privilege to introduce today's speaker, who really needs no introduction. Most of you may recall that Dr. Alvin Weinberg has been the kickoff speaker for our colloquium program for the past 4 or 5 years. And we're going to continue to get him to kick off the program each year as long as he's willing to do it and his health permits. The subject of his presentation today is Walter Zinn, nuclear power pioneer. Some of the younger people in the audience may not know who Dr. Weinberg is. He was in the Manhattan Project. He worked with such notables as Enrico Fermi and Eugene Wigner and Walter Zinn. So the information you get today is first-hand information. After World War II ended, he joined the Clinton Laboratories, which eventually became the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, as the research director. And after serving in that capacity for just a year or so, he became the director of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, a position that he held for 19 years. He retired from that position in the mid-70s and immediately soon thereafter became the director of the Oak Ridge Institute for Energy Analysis, which he headed for about 10 years until the mid-80s when he had his second retirement. He is the winner of numerous awards. Most notably, he is a member of the National Academy of Sciences and the National Academy of Engineering. Only person I know like that, member of both. So, without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege for me to introduce you, present to you, Dr. Alvin Weinberg.
Thank you, Lee. Can you hear me back there? It's always a great pleasure for me to meet with many friends in the nuclear engineering department here at University of Tennessee. And many of the members of the faculty are alumni of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the other enterprises that I've been involved in. Today, I'm going to talk about, can you hear me now? Yeah. I'm going to talk about Walter Henry Zinn. How many of you have ever heard of Zinn? Well, the young people haven't heard of him. The old people have heard of him. The reason I'm talking about Walter Zinn is because I agreed in a weak moment to write a biography of Zinn as a memorial to him. Zinn was a Canadian, was born in 1906 and died in the year 2000 as an American citizen. So he led a 94-year or 93-year old life. But I agreed to write a biography of him for a memorial that would be published by the National Academy of Engineering. I had great trouble organizing myself to do this task, and I finally, because of Lee Dodd's kind invitation, I decided I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And what I will be saying then will be the first draft of my obituary for Walter Zinn. But I think it's appropriate because, as you will see, Walter Zinn, although he is not known very much by people outside of the nuclear enterprise, was one of the most influential, if not the most influential person in nuclear energy during the important days of development, the days when we decided which reactors to work on, which reactors not to work on. Let me finish what I'm going to say about Zinn's personal life. He came to the United States after taking a bachelor's degree in Canada. He was a bright student, although I was in correspondence with one of his sons, who was an astrophysicist at Yale University, and asked him, what should I say about your father? And one of the things he said was, my father was the first member of our family to ever go to college. And he was, of course, a very bright student and took a master's degree at the university in Canada. But then he moved to the United States because he wanted to get a PhD in physics, which he did. And he got his PhD degree from Columbia University. Now, the Columbia University sojourn was coincident with the discovery of fission. Fission was discovered in 1938, and Wally Zinn became involved in the fission enterprise shortly thereafter. He was teaching at the time at the City College of New York, but he had a laboratory at Columbia University, and in this laboratory he worked with Fermi, who had just escaped from Mussolini and had settled in the United States. And is there anybody here who hasn't heard of Fermi? Good. I have the distinction of being the only person on the metallurgical project who collaborated with Fermi on a purely theoretical paper. And that came about, and this is aside from Zinn, that came about because Eugene Wigner, who was my boss at the metallurgical laboratory, said, well, we're going to have reactors that are cylinders, and we'll have cylindrical fuel elements separated by maybe 8 inches or so. And that's going to affect the transport of neutrons. How about you going to your office and figuring out what the increase in transport of neutrons would be in a cylindrical hole? And I toiled at this problem for about 8 days, and I finally got an answer, and I think that answer is what made Wigner realize that these young people around him weren't complete dolts. Because he always attributed to me more power as a theoretical physicist as really was justified by the fact. But to get back to Fermi, so one day I was all Fermi